What the did I just watch? The movie Civil War had to hands down be the worst film I have seen in at least a decade. It was so bad, I immediately came home, turned on my computer, sat in front of my microphone, and had to bitch and moan about this to you. My shoes are still on. I mean, I've turned some stuff off before because I have better things to do, but this movie was so bad, I had to finish it. I had to get something for the $5 I spent to go watch this piece of crap. Not only is it slow, mind-numbingly slow and draggy, but you have no idea what's going on the entire time. Yeah, there's destruction, you see some carnage, but the film is more of a photo essay of, oh, look, there's a helicopter, a military plane sitting in a mall parking lot, and here's some dead bodies, but you don't really find out why that happened or what the backstory was. They just take off these reporters, these journalists, to try to go to Washington, D.C. to interview the president, and all because two states are trying to secede, Texas and California. Don't know how those two paired up. Seems like an odd match if you ask me. But there's all this carnage and destruction from two states. What about the 48 in between? I have a hard time believing those two could overthrow the rest of the country if they wanted to, alone. But that's just kind of a sideshow, because you never really find out what the impetus was for the secession. That's right, you have no idea which side to root for. Should you root for the American government and their military, or should you vote for WF, as they call them, the Western Forces? I don't know. I don't know why they seceded. I don't know why the president wants to keep them from seceding. I don't know what led to all the violence. Who knows? You're just expected to go along for the ride and just see some dead bodies. And I don't know who to decide with. I mean, if I see someone shoot someone, I kind of want to know which side of that equation I fall on. Now, some of the images were kind of cool, but I can't say I've never seen that before. I mean, we're kind of in this era of film and TV anyway with dystopian narratives. I would say I've seen some of that crazy imagery before. Watch The Walking Dead. What about The Last of Us? Yeah, those are zombies, but hey, it's still American collapse. The funny part of the movie was they have to drive through West Virginia. So they start off in New York City, but they can't take a direct route because I think like the roads or something were messed up. There was too much chaos. So they go around through Pittsburgh and then down through West Virginia to back into D.C. And so on this long trip is what you're following along with, these two reporters, and they pick up this other girl along the way who's like in her 20s, and she wants to be a journalist, which is the completely annoying part. I don't want to see some basically intern learn how to do things. So they get to West Virginia, and it's like West Virginia looks the same before, during, and after the Civil War. Yeah, the destruction part, but it's not like West Virginia is super modern anyway. And then they get to this little town that looks like a blast from the past, and they go, yeah, we just decided to, kind of stay out of the Civil War. Robert Byrd would be proud. But besides the fact that this is a slow movie, there is no purpose, you have no idea why there's succession, you have no really care for these characters, there's not a whole heck of a lot of dialogue. They love to do this thing where they're just staring at each other, and then they're staring off into the sky, and these dramatic pauses, and they would take photos, and then the movie would freeze like a snapshot, which got to be really just a little too much, a little too dramatic, and kind of jumbly to watch. But that's artistic, do what you please. I don't think they had a continuity expert on this. So you start the movie, and within a few minutes there's this like big fight in New York City. So the main character, Kirsten Dunst, she shows up to it to photograph it. People are fighting each other. Again, we have no idea why civilians are beating the crap out of one another. I get the military fights each other, but why are people just acting chaotic in the street? Just carnage and blown up buildings and blown up houses, and you don't know why it's hitting civilians. So anyway, she's there photographing this, and then this girl who ends up joining in on the ride to DC with them is where she first meets her. And she grabs her, and she's like, you gotta wear this. Put on your fluorescent vest, and wear your Kevlar, and wear your helmet. Okay, seems like a smart thing to do if you're a war journalist. Well, take off on this movie. Most of the time they have the Kevlar on, but they never have a fluorescent jacket on the rest of the time, like one of those fluorescent vests. They don't wear a helmet. They're out there running around at times with the military, and they have less on than them, and they're right beside them. There's this one scene where they follow these guys around that get into a fight with the American military, and that's the only time they have their hat and their Kevlar on. The rest of the movie, it's just like, oh, some Kevlar, and that's it, and we'll run around, and, here I am running around in my Levi's and a T-shirt. Just really, really not buying it. Even the final scene, when they make it to Washington, D.C., and they go in the White House, everybody's geared up for this takeover, and here's a journalist, and they're just running around with a tiny little bulletproof vest on. The other press people that just kind of in the background that show up at the last minute just as like extra, I don't know, background characters, they got military gear on, but not these jokers that we've been following for the last 2 hours. In one of these scenes, you see this guy who's dressed in military garb. I'm assuming he's with the Western Forces, the Succession group. And he starts assassinating some people, and you see a grave of a lot of bodies. But I don't know why he did it. I don't know why he was killing civilians. I have no idea what's going on. At one point, after they flee that, they're driving through, and there's this crazy intense forest fire, and there's all these embers flying around on the road, but they're out there in West Virginia. I have no idea why there's this crazy forest fire going on, and they just would stare so much into the distance. It literally was the worst acting that I think I might have ever seen in my entire life. It was moody. It wasn't compelling. Nobody was even attractive to look at, that's for sure. This film really needs to get a Razzie. And furthermore, you're running around in a civil war as journalists, risking your life, and you don't carry a gun. Not one of them had a weapon on them, just their camera. I guess they thought their Nikon was going to save them. So yeah, if you want to go to a movie and have no idea what's going on and just see some chaotic, random fighting and some gory dead bodies, then maybe this is your flick. But I wanted to go and have a thought or an opinion. I really don't understand how people gleaned anything political or a political statement out of this, because the president didn't remind me anything of Trump. It didn't remind me anything of Biden, right or left. We had no idea why they were fighting. I couldn't assign a political ideology to either side. So what do I say? Should you go see this movie? Well, it wasn't even worth the $5 I paid on our Tightwad Tuesday night to go see it. What you should do, wait for this to come out where you can watch it on demand from the comfort of your own home. When you're streaming it, put it on that 2x speed, and maybe, just maybe, you might get something out of it. Or better yet, just fast forward to the end when they take over the White House and everybody comes barreling forth, which was really quite a stupid scene. They just barricade through this wall and then walk in the White House, and they're looking for the president. Wouldn't you think he would be out of there by then before things got that close? Or be underground in a panic room or a safe room or out of the city or out of the country? He's just like in there and they got to find him? They emphasize a few times that he's in his third term, but I don't even know why he thought he needed a third term. What caused the Civil War? How do you tell a story about a civil war and not tell us the why? It's like somebody came up with an outline for a movie. Hey, let's do something about the Civil War, and maybe towards the end we got to go see if we can get the president, and we'll follow some photojournalists. Yeah, that'll be great. And then they forgot to give us a plot or a twist. And even the ending was just dumb. I mean, I guess it was kind of violent, but I can't really say, oh yeah, that was the great thing to go do. Rah, rah, America. I don't know why everybody hated the person they show in the final scene. In conclusion, save your money. If you really want to start a civil war, get a fight going over some political matters, or get something really stirred up to piss people off, I suggest is bringing up politics next time you see your extended family. That would be far more exciting and intriguing. This movie may be called Civil War, but it's more of a civil bore. Tune in on Sunday night for an episode of Overnight Opinions you won't want to miss. I'll be doing a deep dive on whether the United States is actually headed towards a civil war. I'll be making my case by comparing it to the original Civil War and seeing what is similar, what is different, and what is to come. Don't forget to watch my 24 for 24 interview series, where I ask 24 questions to presidential candidates. Head over to YouTube and watch my interview with Jill Stein, Michael Rechtenwald, and Chase Oliver.